Chapter 1. The Light Above Flatwoods. Friday evening was settling over the school ground in Flatwoods, West Virginia. The date was September 12th, 1952. Eddie and Freddie May were outside with three other boys, Neil Nunley, Ronnie Shaver, and Tommy Heyer. They were playing ball as the remaining daylight thinned over the hills. Barker's early account placed the sighting at about 7, just as it had become dark. Flatwoods had 288 people at the previous census. The school, nearby houses, and hillside were close enough to reach on foot. Beyond the May house, a road climbed past fences and meadow grass toward patches of woods and a large oak. The town sat on upland ground in Braxton County. The hill was not wilderness. It was the edge of fields and woods above homes the boys knew. The light came while the boys were still at the school ground. Gray Barker later wrote that they compared it to a silver dollar rushing through the sky. It was bright and fast, with red points or balls of fire behind it. The game stopped. All 5 boys watched the bright object cross toward the hill. They watched the bright point and its red trail cross the open sky. It did not fade over a distant horizon. From the school ground, it seemed to drop behind the slope above the May house. For the moment, it was only a light beyond the hill. The boys left the game and ran. Eddie and Freddie headed for their house below the hill. By the time they reached the house, the object itself was no longer visible. The boys had only the direction it had taken and the glow they believed it had left behind. They went inside with the story all at once, a bright thing crossing the sky, red fire behind it, and something coming down above the house. Their account began with something each of them had watched in the open sky. The landing was an inference. The light had passed beyond familiar ground, and the hill had hidden whatever happened next. To find out, someone would have to leave the house and go up after it. Eddie and Freddie had brought the others to their mother. Kathleen May listened. Then she looked toward the hill. Chapter 2. Kathleen May opens the door. The boys had covered the short distance from the school ground at a run. Eddie and Freddie told their mother that the object had landed somewhere above them. The others supplied the shape and speed. It had looked like a coin in the sky, they said, and it had gone beyond the hill. Kathleen May worked as a beautician in Flatwoods. At first, she treated the story as imagination. The boys had seen something in the sky and supplied the rest. May could see the hill from the house. A red glow stood above the slope. She decided to go with them. Gene Lemon joined them. He was 17, older than the other boys, and he found a flashlight for the walk. Kathleen May was the only adult. With her were Eddie and Freddie, Neil Nunley, Ronnie Shaver, Tommy Heyer, and Lemon carrying the light. No one drove to the top or watched from the yard. May had seen the glow herself. She opened the door, and the 7 of them went out. Behind them were the May house and the few streets around the school. Ahead was a road they already knew, made strange for the moment by the red glow above it. Lemon had the only light they could carry with them. The light in the sky and the figure near the trees were 2 different parts of what followed. Nobody drove. The road to the hilltop ran about a quarter mile. Twilight was fading, the moon gave little light, and the walk depended on Lemon's flashlight. May had not accepted the boys' first conclusion. She had agreed to go and see what had produced the glow. The school ground and the few streets of Flatwoods lay below. Ahead, the road passed fences and grass before reaching trees near the crest. The house grew less visible as they climbed. The flashlight became the useful light on the road. It showed only a short piece of ground at a time. Lemon switched on the flashlight. Its beam moved over the road, and the 7 of them began to climb. Chapter 3. The Quarter-Mile Road. A quarter-mile is not far in daylight. At dusk, it was enough for the house to fall below the hill and the village light to weaken with every step. The early account places them on a road through meadow grass, fences, and scattered woods. A gateway stood near the top. Beyond it, the ground opened around a large oak and sloped down to the right. The road gave them no single view of the place ahead. Grass rose beside it. Fences divided the ground, and the bend near the top hid the open field until they were almost there. As they climbed, the group lengthened along the track, Lemon and Nunley drawing ahead while May stayed with the younger boys. The road bent as it climbed. Near the gateway, the people at the front could see farther into the open ground than May and the younger boys behind them. The boys knew the hill as local ground, and Kathleen May lived beneath it. They were not moving through an unknown forest. It was deepening dusk, not complete darkness. As the group climbed, Lemon's flashlight picked out the road, the grass, and the opening ahead. Neil, Nunley, and Lemon moved slightly in front. May and the younger boys followed, seeing the road from behind them or to one side. That placed Lemon and Nunley closest to whatever the flashlight found. The others saw from behind them and from different angles. Near the top, the group reported entering a mist that resembled fog. Barker's early account called its odor pungent and irritating. The United Press account used stronger words: sickening, hot, and stuffy. Both early versions place an unusual smell on the road before the figure appeared. The red glow was clearer from higher ground. It appeared ahead and down to the right beyond the gateway, pulsing from dim to bright. One early estimate placed it about 50 feet away, though in that light, with no familiar shape beside it, distance was difficult to judge. Stewart later said it flashed 3 or 4 times. Near the gateway, Lemon's beam passed over grass and the lower shapes of the trees. Everything outside its circle became less distinct. The beam did not light the whole hillside. It moved with Lemon's hand, crossing one patch of grass and one part of the trees before leaving them dark again. This was how the place came to them, not as a wide scene but in pieces: pale road, fence post, meadow grass, the trunk and lower branches of the oak. Then darkness again as the beam moved on. The red pulse beyond it did not show them more. It only gave the darkness a direction. 2 small points reflected back near the large oak. Lemon took them for an animal's eyes. The red light pulsed nearby, and the pungent mist remained. Nunley and Lemon stood ahead of May and the other boys. Lemon raised his hand, and the flashlight beam moved toward the 2 reflecting points. Chapter 4. Inside the Flashlight Beam. Lemon's beam reached the trees and held there. For a few seconds, the group saw a round, reddish face. Bright eyes shone back at them. A dark outline around the face appeared pointed or hood-like with an indistinct body beneath it. A sound came from the figure, somewhere between a hiss and a high-pitched squeal. It was short and came from the dark near the tree. In a witness recording accessed much later, May compared the sound to frying bacon. Then the shape moved. Witnesses called it a glide or sweep toward them. Inside the light, the dark outline shifted and seemed to come closer. Gene Lemon screamed, and the flashlight fell from his hand. Its beam dropped from the face to the ground. Whatever had stood near the oak disappeared, and the whole group turned. Everything changed at once. One moment, the beam held the face and pointed outline. The next, it lay across grass and road. Their only useful light was no longer in Lemon's hand. The first newspaper version says Lemon fell backward. Barker's later account says he screamed and dropped the flashlight. The difference cannot be settled now. In both, the beam falls away and the group runs. They ran back through the gateway and down the same road without stopping. Fence, grass, and track passed in the dark. They left the red glow and the reported pungent mist behind them. The climb had taken them away from the house one step at a time. Coming back, they covered the quarter-mile without another pause or look toward the oak. At the bottom, the group reached the May house and came back through the same door. Chapter 5. The Road Back Down. Inside the house, they told the story before they had a settled picture of what they had seen. The smell remained strong in the telling, and some were later said to feel nauseated. More dramatic medical claims came afterward. No doctor's notes or test results from that night survived to support them. They had brought nothing back but the account. No one had stayed to measure the figure against the tree or watch where it went. Their clearest common moment had lasted only as long as Lemon held the flashlight steady. After that came the fallen beam, the road downhill, and the door of the May house. Barker estimated that less than half an hour passed between the first light and the run back down. Stewart heard the story later that evening. His first newspaper account says someone gave Lemon smelling salts and called the police. It records the response to Lemon's condition, not its cause. Kathleen May gave reporters a short description that belonged unmistakably to 1952. The figure, she said, looked worse than Frankenstein. A. Lee Stewart, Jr. worked at the Braxton Democrat. He saw the witnesses soon afterward and called them the most frightened people he had ever seen. Stewart knew the families and heard the account before it reached national newspapers. To him, their fear was genuine, though he could not name its cause. Sheriff Robert Carr and a deputy were already investigating a possible airplane crash. That brought people back toward the hill after dark. Locals and officers searched the area. A later summary says they saw no creature, heard no unusual sound, and detected none of the odor. They were looking after the light and movement had ended and found nothing to confirm the encounter. No animal, machine, or fallen object came down from the hill that night. In the morning, they climbed the road again. This time, Gene Lemon went in daylight and A. Lee Stewart carried a camera. Chapter 6. The Hill in Daylight. Saturday morning gave the road back its edges. The red glow was gone. In its place were a bend, a gateway, tangled ground, and the large tree where Lemon had aimed the flashlight. The daylight party followed the same route and could examine the field without depending on one moving beam. Stewart said the state police had been unavailable. The next morning, the sheriff and several others went up. Stewart brought his camera, and Gene Lemon returned with them. Stewart said he had to coax Lemon up the hill and keep a hand on his shoulder. The 17-year-old shook as they neared the place he had fled the night before. His return gave the searchers a witness who could point out the area. Stewart knew the witnesses and tried to pull their story apart, but they kept to the same account. Unable to identify the figure, he would say only that he believed they had seen something on the hill. The searchers found no meteorite and no wrecked aircraft. Stewart reported trampled ground and the same peculiar odor. The people who had searched in the night had smelled nothing. Stewart reported 2 marks like skids. He estimated each at a foot wide and 10 yards long, with a car length between them. He insisted that a car could not reach that part of the hill. These were estimates, not survey measurements. Other accounts add a gummy or oily deposit. No accessible laboratory report identifies it or connects it to the light or figure. The marks and residue remain reported traces, not verified pieces of a landed object. Years later, Max Lockard said he had driven his black 1942 Chevrolet pickup around the hillside that evening. It could account for tracks and oil. Stewart said a car could not get there. Both claims remain in the record. The 2 accounts conflict over whether a vehicle could reach the place. Stewart came down with reports of trampled ground, 2 tracks, residue, and the odor. He had not found the object or the figure. 3 days after the encounter, national readers met the thing on the hill. They did not meet it through a flashlight beam. They met it in print. Chapter 7. The Drawing in New York. By Monday, September 15th, the story had reached newspapers outside West Virginia. Headlines named a red-faced monster. The vague lower body mattered less than the face people remembered. The Wire story arrived only 3 days after the encounter. Already it was more complete than the view on the hill. One United Press account supplied a towering green body, bulging eyes, and clawed hands. Those details traveled together even though the witnesses differed over some of them. In Stewart's version, the figure stood 11 or 12 feet high. It had a shiny metallic face, protruding eyes, and outstretched claw-like hands. A brief impression now had a height, a body, and a pair of hands. 1 week after the encounter, Kathleen May, Gene Lemon, and A. Lee Stewart traveled to New York. On Friday, September 19th, they appeared on the NBC television program, We the People. The story had moved from a school ground to a house, then to a local newspaper. In New York, it entered a television studio. Later accounts say a studio artist drew the figure from the witness description. The finished image had a spade-shaped cowl, a circular face, and a broad, dark body. Unlike the flashlight view, the drawing held still. Every edge could be seen at once. The early descriptions were less complete. The face was reddish with a hood-like or pointed outline. May reported claw-like hands, but the witnesses disagreed about visible arms. The lower half was vague, and the height came from a rough comparison with a branch. The drawing fixed those loose parts into a silhouette. It became the familiar Flatwoods Monster, not a few details in a moving beam, but a complete figure facing the viewer. 7 days after the walk, strangers could picture the monster more clearly than the witnesses had seen it. The picture still left the original pieces on the hill. The fire in the sky, the red pulse near the trees, the eyes, the hiss, and the dark shape each had another possible identity. Chapter 8. A Meteor, a Beacon, an Owl. The Air Force identified the object in the sky as a meteor seen over a wide area. That could explain the light above the school ground. It did not explain what Lemon's flashlight found near the oak. In 2000, skeptical investigator Joe Nickell visited the hillside. His reconstruction used several ordinary things from the same evening. He began with the setting. The figure had appeared beside a large tree on partially wooded farm ground. Its face became visible in Lemon's beam, while its lower half remained vague. The red pulse may have come from an aircraft beacon visible from the area. The face may have belonged to a barn owl on a branch. A barn owl has a pale, heart-shaped face that can return a flashlight brightly. Its talons can appear as claws, and dark foliage beneath a perch can supply a much larger lower shape. In this telling, the red pulse belongs to a beacon, the face to a bird, and the great dark body to the vegetation below it. Barn owls do not need to hoot. They can scream and hiss when disturbed. A startled bird leaving a branch also provides a short, sweeping movement in the exact place where the group reported one. The sound and movement need not have been invented. A startled owl can scream, spread its wings, and leave a branch in one quick sweep. In Nichols' reconstruction, position supplies the remaining effect. The bird fills the bright upper part of the beam, while branch and vegetation fill the darkness below. Lockard's pickup offers a separate possible explanation for the marks and oil. Nichols' reconstruction joins a meteor, a beacon, an owl, vegetation, and a truck on the same hillside. The reconstruction does not explain the pungent mist, and it requires a large error in the estimated size. More than that, it divides the encounter into ordinary pieces. The witnesses remembered one large shape. Nichols' explanation brought the case back from the television studio to the same oak and the same narrow piece of ground. Chapter 9. The Hill After the Picture. Nearly half a century later, Joe Nichols stood on the same wooded hill. The large oak was nearby, and aircraft beacons were visible on the horizon. Ordinary pieces fit the place: a meteor, a distant beacon, an owl on a branch, and Lockard's pickup. Mist and reported size fit less easily. In daylight, the hill was still a hill above a small town. The oak stood apart from the television image. A branch crossed above the undergrowth, with tall grass below. Nearby, the gateway opened onto a road that curved down toward the houses. Nothing on the site held the complete outline from the famous picture. The branch, grass, beacon, reported tracks, and May house occupied different distances. The road bend hid one part while opening another. From the gateway, the oak stood against the field. From the house, only the upper slope and glow could be seen. A person in one position did not receive the view available from another. The witnesses approached as those distances faded. Twilight blurred the tree and undergrowth. The red pulse drew their eyes beyond the road. Lemon's flashlight lit only the place where it rested. May and the younger boys followed behind Lemon and Nunley, looking past them toward the beam. Down the road, the hill slowly falls from sight. The gateway goes first, then the oak. From the May house, the upper slope becomes a place where a red glow can be seen but not examined. The later visit and the New York drawing can recede. What remains is the quarter-mile road from the May house to the gateway. It begins near the few streets of Flatwoods, climbs past grass and fencing, bends near the top, and reaches the place where the red light pulsed down to the right. It is Friday evening again. Useful light is leaving the slope. Kathleen May has looked up from the house and seen a red glow where the boys said the object came down. She has not yet told a reporter about Frankenstein. No artist has given the figure a complete body, and no investigator has separated the light, tree, owl, and tracks. Gene Lemon carries the flashlight. Neil Nunley walks beside him near the front. Behind them are May and the younger boys following a familiar road through meadow grass and scattered trees. The house falls below them and the beam grows brighter against the fading sky. 7 people move along the road. Their positions change with the bend, but Lemon and Nunley remain ahead. For the moment, it is only a light beyond the hill. Near the gateway, the air carries a pungent odor. A red glow pulses down and to the right. 2 points answer the flashlight near the oak. Lemon turns the beam toward them. It crosses the grass and the lower branches. For a few seconds, it rests on a reddish face, bright eyes, and a dark pointed edge. From the tree comes a hiss. The shape moves. Lemon's flashlight falls and the road fills with running feet. The famous monster will come later. Here there is only the narrow beam among the trees and a face no 2 witnesses will describe in exactly the same way. Then the hill beyond it goes dark.